You know that feeling when you're sitting there doing absolutely nothing and suddenly you just feel off? You aren't particularly sad or angry, you're just empty. You scroll on your phone, you put on music, but nothing actually helps. When we hit this state, our default biological response is to wait. We sit there waiting for a text message, a stroke of good luck, or a sudden, unexplained burst of energy to arrive and snap us out of it. We treat our mood like a weather system, something we just have to sit through until it passes. Look at this formula. Society teaches us that we need to feel motivation first, which leads us to take action, which finally results in happiness. But this equation is biologically backward. Your brain is not designed to make you passively happy. It is a highly efficient machine optimized to react quickly to your environment. But once you understand the specific triggers of that reaction cycle, you can step in and interrupt it. Passively waiting for your brain to spontaneously generate a good mood is a biological dead end. Instead of hoping your brain fixes itself, you can use highly specific 15-second physical and verbal inputs to manually override your nervous system. The human brain relies heavily on a mechanism called bottom-up processing. This means the brain constantly scans your physical body to gather data, and it uses that data to determine what emotional reality it should be generating. This diagram shows exactly how physical cues influence the mind. If you gently raise your eyebrows, relax your jaw, and let the corners of your mouth lift into a soft smile for just 15 seconds, that physical tension release travels upward as a direct biological signal. That specific facial posture tells your nervous system, we are safe. Your brain receives the message and immediately dials down stress chemicals, replacing them with feel-good neurotransmitters. You don't have to force positive thoughts. You are simply changing the physical data your brain is receiving. But sometimes your body is calm while your mind is completely racing, replaying problems or jumping into the future with anxiety. When this happens, your brain is locked in its fast-acting reacting mode, entirely bypassing the logical thinking mode. Here's what happens when you use a technique called name it to tame it. The moment you silently or out loud state, I am feeling overwhelmed, control shifts directly into the logical prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is the area of the brain responsible for complex planning and analytical thought. The mechanics here are simple. Your brain cannot fully panic and analytically label an emotion at the exact same time. The sheer act of verbalizing the feeling interrupts the emotional loop entirely. By signaling physical safety with your facial muscles and logically defining a threat with your words, you dictate the terms of your internal environment. You force a state change before your emotions even have time to catch up. Even with a calm body and a quiet mind, you might still feel stuck and unmotivated. That brings us to the final biological mechanism, which requires correcting a major misconception. We tend to assume that our brains reward us with happiness chemicals only when we finally cross the finish line of a massive goal. But look at this mechanic. The brain actually releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter that acts as the nervous system's primary reward signal, the moment it detects progress. The objective scale of the goal doesn't matter. The forward movement does. This gives us the micro-win dopamine hit. If you take less than 15 seconds to straighten your posture, take a single slow breath, or even drink a sip of water, your brain registers a completed task. This dopamine surge increases your focus, elevates your optimism, and physically fuels the biological motivation required to take the next step. This mechanism proves exactly why waiting to feel motivated fails. Action has to come first. By manufacturing a 15-second micro-win, you force your brain to supply the motivation you were missing just moments prior. Now, put the biology together into a single sequence. When you feel a negative spiral starting, you soften your face to signal safety. You clearly label the emotion to engage your logical processing, and you execute one tiny task to generate forward momentum. This gives us a new, scientifically accurate equation. Intentional action triggers a specific chemical shift in the brain, and that biological shift produces the feeling we call happiness. Completing this sequence does not fix your life. The traffic jam is still there, and the stressful day hasn't vanished. But your internal nervous system is no longer held hostage by those external events. You've executed a successful manual override. You don't need to spend months building these into complex daily habits. They are immediate biological inputs.
They work instantly because they operate using the exact pathways your brain already naturally prioritizes. You don't have to endlessly search for a good mood or wait for the world to hand you one. The machinery you need is already built right into your biology. You just have to initiate the sequence.